Usually are.
Coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is the Blue Heaven Podcast. What is going on, Dodgers Nation? My name is Clint. You can find me as Real FRG on Twitter and Instagram.
Beautiful. Well said. And I am Brooke. You can find me at BrookeMe3 on Twitter and Instagram. On today's show, listen, this is the last episode without baseball happening for many months.
Wait, have a button for
many
that.
moons.
Yeah, at least through into November. Almost.
Yeah, because playoffs, etc.
Playoffs.
We're going to win the World Series, all those things.
Yeah, we have some fun. We're going to try to figure some things out. If things go a little wonky, you know what? Just have some fun with us, guys. Pull up a beer. Roach is in the stream. He's a troll. But we finally have listened to people. We brought in our friend Doug.
Not in.
He's not here because, you know, COVID's and all of that. But he said, piss off, ghost. But Doug, we're going to get Doug, pull Doug on in a little bit. Hopefully all that goes pretty well. We also going to talk catching because there's some stuff that sort of dropped today, and we felt like talking catching. You know, Brooke and I are – Brooke is a big-time catcher fan, so we want to talk about our catchers and catchers' depth. There's some Dodgers quick hits that we want to get into a little bit. Two great giveaways we're going to talk about, and I guess giveaway today, and a whole lot more. I'll remind you, this is a what do we call it? A podcast. So, you know, subscribe, hit that notification bell on all the things. Do it on YouTube as well. We'd appreciate it. YouTube.com/DodgersNationTV. Anywhere you could find us. If you could subscribe to us, like us, what do they call that? Leave a review, rate us, give us a check mark. We'd appreciate it, you know?
Do all those things, guys. We appreciate all of them. It makes us happy and fluffy and warm inside, whatever
fluffy
it
automatically.
Yeah, well, it's fine. Don't forget, guys, this is a live stream, so make sure you drop into the chat. Let us know where you're repping Dodgers Nation tonight. We want to talk to you guys. Doug's definitely going to want to hear from you guys when he comes on because Doug likes to talk. You guys know that. I'm just going to check in on the chat here because I haven't really looked at it at all. Jeff says, why are spring training tickets so expensive? I hadn't heard that spring training tickets were expensive.
Well, they all sold out like hella quick.
Yeah, so I think people are reselling them, and that's why they're expensive. They sold out within 2 hours. Is that, or was it faster?
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah.
People really want to see their Dodgers. We're coming up tomorrow, Tuesday, when this comes out as a podcast. It will be exactly 1 year to the day from the last time Brooke and I saw a live baseball game. We saw Mookie's debut.
We got to see Mookie's debut. I remember he popped out
his first at bat.
In his first at bat, and that's all I really remember from that day.
What happened? Hopefully, Trevor Bauer pops out in his first at bat. I think that
would be impressive.
Things.
Yeah, I would really enjoy that.
Roach is tuning in from Yorkshire, England. He's trolling today.
Alyssa checking in from Cambridge, Massachusetts. What's up, Alyssa? Good to see you again.
Puppy Butt 310 giving us 5 stars. Jose Rod saying, "Where's Doug? He'll be here. Give us like 20 minutes. We got things to talk about."
You can't just drop the main course right from the start.
Leslie is also in stream saying, "Hey boys, how you doing, Leslie? Good to see you. At least your name here." And Leslie cannot wait for spring training to start. Less than a week. Sunday is baseball, and I'm thrilled.
I am very happy about it. I feel like baseball's been gone for a long time, even though it hasn't been gone. I mean, it just ended the end of October, so it hasn't been that long.
It's felt a lot longer than normal. Today, Spectrum Networks announced that they're going to be having all of the spring training games covered, which is awesome.
Alternatively, Spectrum Internet just went down across LA, so there's all sorts of news for Spectrum today.
We out here, we running it. You know how we do. We struggling.
Yeah, it happens.
But we're struggling for different reasons. Just, you know, YOLO. Cool Whip Special says Dodgers win 107 games this year. I guess we haven't done our season predictions. Maybe we should do that.
We
at
have
some
not
point.
done that. Yeah,
all right, next week.
Next week we'll do all of our season. I mean, I don't know that we've ever gone back and checked on any of them, but I'm 99% sure we're wrong about everything all the time. So
hell yeah.
I don't know that you necessarily want us predicting things if you want them to happen that bad. We should do it. All right, this is my promise to you. I will go back. Between now and next week, I'm probably not going to do it.
Definitely not.
I will go back and check our predictions and see how we did on things.
Hold him to it, guys. That's at BrookeMe3 on Twitter and Instagram. Go
at DMAC_LA.
Just attack him. Just attack him in the DMs because why not? But that's wild to see 107 and have it be like, sure, you know what? That is in a realm of possibility.
Yeah, I mean it really to me is like that's a good number for me. Like that feels solid. I believe in that number. It's an odd time when you feel like you can win 107 games. And by odd, I mean it's a great time when it feels like you can win 107 games from the start of a season, because generally you shoot way under.
Mm-hmm. Fredo asked, chances Trevor Bauer gets beamed sometime in 2021 if the DH isn't installed. I think it's almost a bona fide guarantee once we hit New York. Especially if Thor's in the lineup or pitching, he's on the bump. I think old TB27 made some fans there in with the New York Mets, so that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a soap opera these days on social. I mean, it's always like a soap opera on Twitter, but usually you don't have a Major League Baseball player involved in it in some way, shape, or form. But, strange times we're living in, we adjust as we go. And we just watch. That's all we can do. We just watch.
You think the DH sneaks in somehow magically?
I still think that the DH sneaks in.
Is this your prediction?
I've stayed on that prediction. I think I even said it last week. I still think it's going to find its way in. I've said many times that Major League Baseball and the Players Union have proven that they can go down to the buzzer on many, many, many important, very important topics, and I think that's going to be one of them. I think that the roster issue is going to be something that the roster size, something that we talked about. I think it's going to be up from the normal. And I think that they'll continue to talk expanded playoffs. I think they will continue to talk about it. I don't know if it'll sneak in, but I think that one way or another, something's going to happen.
MLB is not giving the players DH, universal DH, unless they get their expanded playoffs. So we've talked about it plenty. I really hate the expanded playoffs. I think it lessens the value of making the playoffs, even though as Dodger fans, we know we don't need to worry about making the playoffs. It's going to happen unless something just catastrophic happens.
That would be a
and
failure.
There's 9 misfortunes, perhaps, but Dodgers are making the playoffs. That was never going to be an issue. But having to play that, anything can happen in one of those short 3-game series. So it's less fun. And I've heard people talking about trying to do a bye week in the first week. You can't do that in baseball because baseball players are a creature of habit. You mess up the people's timing. You mess up the rotation. Maybe the rotation benefits the most. Pitchers like to be on that routine, especially relievers. So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get like a college-style bye or an NFL-style bye. It doesn't play up for baseball players. But that's all I'm going to say about that topic.
Oh, we really appreciate your input on that. We were all looking for it. I'm glad we got to be there for it. I really like it. Verdell over on Facebook says, I don't like expanded playoffs. Join the club. I think a lot of people don't like the expanded playoffs. I think the only people that really enjoy expanded playoffs are the owners,
MLB,
and the fringe teams.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's it.
And the
baseball.
league, because they make all that. I already pushed the money button. Speaking of money, we have a cool giveaway.
Okay.
We have a cool giveaway. I forgot to install the graphic, but you guys know what it looks like when the Dodgers win, and you guys know what like old box set DVD things. Why don't you tell the people what they can win?
I mean, just well executed to a T. Without the graphic, we're fine though. We partnered up with AM 570, the Dodgers station. I don't have to explain that to you guys.
LA
You guys
Sports
know
Radio.
them. To give away a complete 8-disc collector's. You have to say disc very carefully. 8-disc collector's edition of the Dodgers 2020 World Series win. I personally would not be able to watch all of that because that is a lot of time and effort.
A lot of disc.
But if you have the time to watch it, I guarantee you it's worth it. It's a collector's edition. It looks cool. It's going to probably be worth money down the line someday. I don't know. It's just awesome. And AM 570 worked with us to give away to our fans and their fans. And so we would like to announce the winner of that because we have several things that we're giving away today.
Yep.
And the winner of that wonderful, amazing, perfect, awesome prize, courtesy of AM 570, is Jacob. Jacob Nogel. I don't know how to say this person's. I don't know how to say anybody's name. I would be the worst substitute teacher because I would butcher every person's name, and that's at something on Instagram. We'll send you a DM on Instagram, or Eddie will because he's listening all the time, and then communicate with us. But make sure you guys follow at AM 570 LA Sports all season long. They got a lot of stuff on there. They did a lot of stuff with Trevor Bauer. They've done stuff with. They have Andre Ethier on, a recurring segment. JT's on all the time. You're definitely going to want to follow their Instagram throughout the course of the season because it's a good place to get some inside looks at things.
More Dodger content. That's what we're all here for. I don't know if you mentioned it. Yeah, DM us back. If not, within 48 hours, we're going to give it to somebody else.
Send it in space.
Just the way it works. All right. Let's just free ball it here, We're talking about some catching today. Austin Barnes met with the media, and he was kind of asked about, hey, dude, each year you've been this backup guy, and then all of a sudden in the playoffs you're starting and you're getting the lion's share of the starts. I'm just curious. I mean, last year, you guys can go back and listen to a lot of our podcasts from last year, and especially the what we're doing pre-games and all of that. We are all about Austin Barnes as a catcher. He is the best catcher on this team, best catch and receive, catch and throw guy, the best game caller. You saw the difference in how Walker Buehler was able to maintain himself and just get through some really tough situations, particularly in the NLCS.
Right.
But we also know this is Will Smith's team. Will Smith is the future. So, I don't know, talk that out. What do you think about this sort of, it's not really a catching conundrum, but it is kind of a catching conundrum.
Yeah, I think you just look down the line and you start thinking about the Dodgers behind home plate, and you're kind of like, what is their plan? Because there's so many guys coming up through the system that should be here in the next couple of years. And with that in mind, you're looking at the current situation and being like, okay, well, we have our catching situation right now figured out for the next 5 years. So what happens after that? Where do pieces move? What the hell happens with Keibert Ruiz? There are so many questions that they're good questions, by the way. If you're thinking about this in terms of what we're dealing with, they're all good questions, but I don't know. Austin Barnes got way more starts in the playoffs than I anticipated him getting. I don't think you and I expected that.
Especially going in.
Because Will Smith was just, you talk about a guy tearing the cover off the ball. Like, if I don't know that anybody has hit the ball harder than Will Smith has on a consistent basis for what he did in 2020. It seemed like every time he was coming to the plate, he was hitting the ball 95 plus mile an hour off the bat, which is incredibly good. So I think when you're looking at it, there's two sides to it. Obviously, the bat of Will Smith is why he's in there, and the defensive side of things and how he handles pitching staffs is why Austin Barnes gets put in there, and that's why he's Clayton Kershaw's catcher.
That means a whole lot.
That does, and that carries a lot of weight because he's going to be around, and you hope he's going to be around long term. But it's such a stark, drastic difference when you're looking at the two catchers because one of them is so good with the bat and one of them is so good with the glove. Yeah. And they're both, on the other side of things, both so average or slightly below average at what they do opposite of that. So you look at Barnes, pretty below average with the bat in terms of what he done, although he had arguably his best offensive season since 2017 this past season. And then Will Smith is just, his framing is terrible. Most of his defensive metrics don't rank out very well, but his framing rates rated out as the worst in Major League Baseball last year.
Which is funny because he was drafted as a glove first, catch first kind of defensive first player, and then all of a sudden this bat he's an elite bat in the league, particularly at catcher. He's putting up Piazza level numbers over a 162 stretch, over 140 games. If he had played that many, he's played 93 games I think in his career, and prodigious power out of the two spot there.
Yeah, you look at like his deep numbers, and this is I don't like going off of baseball savant type of things, but in terms of like hard hit percentage, ranks near up like the top of the league, and a bunch of different offensive numbers and expected offensive numbers. And we got to see early on in the season he had a lot of really bad luck hitting right at people very hard. And then you look at his framing, and he's in the bottom 5% of the league in framing. And you're like, wow, that is a stark drop-off. And then you switch over to Barnes, and you're like, he's in the top 96 percentile of framing. He's one of the best framing catchers in the league, but he just can't hit very well. So there's this weird balance that just hasn't been found. It would be solved if you could, and I think that will be part of spring training and part of the season plan for the year, is working Will Smith very hard behind the plate and working on a lot of different things back there to make his defense. If his defense gets even remotely better, he is going to be the guy moving forward, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't see any other way around it.
Well, either way, he's going to be the guy. But then we're going to get to those questions. Yeah. We're going to get to those questions each year. And you know, if Barnesy's starting, if Sam Barnes is starting twice a week because, Kershaw and Buehler want to throw to him, the next big test is to see what Bauer thinks, because Bauer is very, very particular with his catchers. Right. And you saw a lot of that last year, and you saw him in his Cy Young acceptance stuff about him calling out Tucker Barnhart and the other guy whose name escapes me, the other Reds catcher, because who the hell knows Cincinnati Reds. But that's going to be a big thing. And if you start to see Barnesy by the All-Star break getting, the lion's share of catches or starts with Bauer on the bump, that's going to tell you a lot about where Will Smith is. And, I mean, you saw that in Will Smith's first season. There you go, Kurt Casale. Thank you. Cool Whip special. Cool Whip special. You saw that you had those kind of lingering, I guess, question marks in Will Smith's first season about him, I wouldn't say not getting along with the pitching staff, but there being that divide, and I don't think the shortened season helped it too much. I don't know if he's focusing more on the batting side of things, but with where we're at, it's a good problem to have that you have enough offense to negate the maybe 1 or 2 runs that you might lose from a catcher or something. I don't know. I mean, 1 or 2 runs feels like a lot, but we, as we said at the top of the show, Dave talked a bit about the split between the catching and kind of what he expects to happen this year. So let's hear a little bit of Dave, and then we'll dive into what Doc has to say about particularly Austin Barnes and Will Smith.
Yeah, honestly, Bill, I guess if you look at, timeshare, I guess it's a backup, but I don't see it as such. I think it's a 1 and 1A. They're both very valuable, and I think that we've done a good job of using both of them and exploiting strengths and things to help us win baseball games, whether it be in the regular season, the postseason. And I just don't want Austin to kind of come into this season as a backup because, clearly, in the postseason, we leaned on him. So we'll see how it plays out. And it's kind of the same message where competition is a good thing. Continue to get better at your craft behind the plate, in the batter's box, and we'll see where that takes us.
It's really interesting because that's the first time that I've ever heard somebody not call Austin Barnes a backup catcher because in my mind, he's always been the backup catcher. He's been that way for the last 2 years. I don't even think he didn't make the playoff roster in 2019.
Yeah.
Man, the years fly by. Holy hell. But that's the first time we've ever heard it more as a competition thing rather than as something that's set in stone and something that's just to be expected. And that's, I think, something that Dave Roberts in particular has preached early on in the first couple of days of spring training is that, hey, like nothing's set in stone. Like all across the board, there's competitions that are going to be going on, and those are good for our guys. Those are good for making our guys work hard and not expecting something. And I think that fuels the drive back to a World Series championship because obviously the World Series hangover is something that's very real. It's something that teams have dealt with, something we dealt with in 2018 after losing in 2017, which isn't common to lose and then have one. But it can happen, and you want to make sure that you feel that hunger, feel that drive, and I think that's good for it. But I've never heard Dave say like, oh yeah, like they're 1 and 1A, like they're both right up there.
Yeah, usually it's last year particularly twice, as you got spring training 1 and spring training 2.0 or summer camp. Doc always talked about how the Will is going to get the lion's share, and usually that's the way he goes. He sugarcoats his way around it. He's going to get the lion's share, but maybe this isn't that Dave's opportunity to call out Will Smith and be like, dude, you need to improve your game calling because that's huge. And again, there's no way. Obviously, there's no way we could actually look at it and say yes or no, or we can't have any real stats behind it. But there's no way, in my personal opinion, hashtag A Scout, that Walker Buehler would have got out of that bases loaded no out jam without the calming veteran presence of Mr. Sam Austin Barnes.
Yeah, and I mean anybody who's ever pitched, even at any level, doesn't really matter, knows that if you can't really rely on your catcher, it's a really hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to get by on the mound in under pressure situations like that. So there is something to it. I don't know how much there is to it, but I am interested to see if Austin Barnes starts actually go up this season because I think that number one, he's going to stay Clayton's catcher as well, and preferred catcher. So
and if he's the de facto unofficial personal catcher for 3 of your 5 in your starting rotation, that's going to light a fire under your ass if you're Will Smith.
I mean, it has to. You can't look at that and be like, I know I'm better than this guy. Yeah. I know I can hit way better than this guy. If I have to work on this to be better than him and to get his starts and and to earn the trust of my starters, then why not? That's what you work on in spring training. I think that I don't know. Look, I don't know anything. I'm not a smart dude, but I do know that Will Smith needs. Thank you. Will Smith should spend this entire spring training camp working on his framing, and beyond that, I don't know what else he can do in terms of the metrics that he needs to work on from defensive side of things.
It's going to be time.
he's got to work on stuff, and he's got to get it down, and I think he's going to be good, but I don't know. Not right now.
The lack of DH is definitely going to, if we end up going that way, which all the writing on the wall says there's going to be no DH, it's what we're being told, that's going to hurt the Dodgers a lot in this particular thing, because I don't think, honestly, I don't know if we could have won or made it to the World Series without the DH last year, because you got to keep Will Smith in that lineup, but you needed the glove of Austin Barnes. To focus on the Will Smith side of things, Will Smith is this. Well, I don't know how you feel about it. He's a top 3 offensive catcher in the game, but it would be behind Real Muto, who's hurt, and Grandal right now. But if you're looking at the small sample size, he might be the best overall. But the other guys just have length. They have longevity.
Right,
They've been doing it for years. Will Smith has been doing it for 93 games. But those 93 games are pretty next level. And we wanted to introduce a new friend of the show and new friend of Dodgers Nation, Mr. Juan Toribio, who is the Dodgers beat writer for MLB.com. And Juan was he came over from the Rays, and we did this interview with him a couple weeks ago. Check it out on our YouTube channel. I think I need to eventually post it as a podcast, but it is up on our YouTube channel. Obviously, you got a new guy coming to the Dodgers. You got to learn about the team. And what he sees so far, he likes in that guy, Mr. William Dilliam Smith.
But, yeah, I think the one guy, which I'm actually kind of excited to see play in person, is Will Smith. I think he's the one guy that everything I've seen and just kind of read and, everything, all the due diligence is just, this guy's a stud. And, when you're in this lineup, and you have Betts and Bellinger and Seager and all those guys, I feel like it's pretty easy for you to go under the radar. Mm-hmm. But this guy might be, he has the potential to be the best hitting catcher in the National League. And, obviously JT Realmuto will have something to say about that. But I think he's the one guy where I'm like, man, this guy's really good. And he doesn't get talked about as much, or maybe I didn't know much about him. I'm sure you guys know him pretty well. So he's the one guy of everyone, which is kind of like a random pick. But I like him. I think he's going to be pretty good and just kind of, fit in really well in that lineup.
Miss Cleo himself, looking into the future, calls Will Smith the greatest catcher in human history. That's maybe an inaccurate spin. But
great way to sum it up. I'm always glad to look back at these interviews and know that I'm not wearing the exact same thing. That's all I'm ever really looking at.
All of my shirts are like this blue. A lot of them. Check out, this is Belly in the Ball. Check it out, gearup.la. When you buy our shirts, you literally support us, gearup.la. Thank you.
You found your plug. Way to go. You did it. You fit it right in.
That was for Gary.
It's funny that he comes over and that's the guy that he kind of leans on. That's the guy he kind of looks at. I think we've all been looking at him for a while, and obviously that's because we know him and we've gotten to watch him play the entire year. But you forget that when you're not watching one team play, you don't necessarily get to see all the pieces. You kind of just get to see their superstars and their highlights and things like that. But Will Smith can be the guy. He can be the guy moving forward. He can be a really, really good catcher. There's obviously some things that he needs to work on. I do worry that because of the defensive gap between the two of them, and I think our buddy SD Dodger Tim is in the stream. I think he said it somewhere where he's like, it's dumb to have a designated catcher, especially at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense, playoff run, sure, why not? It definitely made sense when Austin Barnes was in there for Walker and Kershaw during the postseason. I get that. But to have that at the beginning of the season doesn't quite add up, doesn't quite make sense. Work with those guys, see if you can improve your relationship with them, see if you can improve them as catchers behind the plate, see if you can improve them as pitch callers, all those things. I do worry that Austin Barnes is going to end up taking some of those at-bats, because now that we don't have that universal DH, if that is the plan moving forward, that hurts. You take the bat out of Will Smith's hand, you take his bat out of the lineup, and I'm not calling Austin Barnes an automatic out. I'm not saying that he is basically a pitcher batting in front of a pitcher.
Mookie Betts, man, I'm telling you, he's going to continue to be his hitting coach.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's hope that Austin Barnes can improve with the bat or continue to build off of the 2020 season. It still was not a good offensive 2020 season. Don't forget that. He was still well below average, well below league average. So there's still things that he can work on, but one way or another, somebody's got to improve somewhere because there's just awkward in between right now that's happening where they're just so drastically far apart on different sides of things that it makes it really complicated. Like, it would be a lot easier if Will Smith was also a very good defensive catcher, because then that wouldn't even be a conversation anymore. It would be like, yeah, Austin Barnes is the backup. Will Smith crushes the ball and is throwing dudes out and framing perfectly, and we love him.
The only way this is going to get better is with time. Will Smith just needs to get reps. Honestly, it would probably benefit him a whole lot to learn how to receive the best pitcher of a generation in Clayton Kershaw. So Clayton might need to ease up on his personal catcher preference, which I get. You need these numbers. This is a platform year for Kersh. He doesn't know if he's going to be back. He knows he's going to be playing. Not 100% sure if it's going to be with the Dodgers. Probably is. Good chance it is. I don't think he goes anywhere. Andrew Friedman has his P's and Q's about it. He's not going anywhere. But yeah, if you're receiving one of the best to ever do it, you're going to learn a lot about catching. And I again, time is all it's going to take. One last one, I saw Unknown God. He's some unknown god over on YouTube saying Ruiz, make him our third catcher. I want to get your thoughts on Kybert, and where he's at. Inform the fine people on where he's at.
I mean, literally, he's not here yet. That's one thing. He's having some issues with his visa still. But I think that the Dodgers have really just they got to be closing in on a crossroads with Kybert pretty soon here.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right on the fringe of making a decision or having to make a decision. He's not a kid anymore. I mean, he still is a kid, but he's not a kid. You forget how long he's been around. You forget how the fact that he hasn't been able to make an impact yet. He obviously played that one series against the Angels last year, and that's kind of all he did the entire year. He's taken steps back. He's taken steps forward. He's gone back and forth. He's had injuries. He's had ups. He's had downs. I just don't know what their plan is with him anymore. Almost to the point where this past offseason, I thought for sure he was going to be traded. Yeah. I thought for sure he was going to be flipped somewhere because I was like, especially when I saw the Barnes contract. Obviously, it's 2 years, obviously still arbitration, et cetera, so that accounts for some things. But when I saw that, I was like, man, there's just so much talent coming up behind him. I mean, Tim could fill you in on all the catchers that we have coming up through the system over the next couple of years, but there are a lot of good names coming up through the system that should make an impact relatively soon. But then again, we also thought that about Kybert. So
yeah, I mean, he's in that same spot, you know, that Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin are. These guys are too good to be bouncing around or not in the rotation the way they are going to be or aren't going to be. So there's only so long you could hold on to this premium talent and just kind of keep shuttling them back and forth to AAA or keeping them in the bullpen or whatever the hell it's going to be. You can't. Not everybody's going to be as nice as Ross Stripling was. And just saying, oh yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do that, no problem. And then
great question.
Cost yourself a few $1 million potentially in salary over your career. So they got to do something. They got to do something with Kybert for sure. We'll get a little bit more in on pitching in a second, because we do got to talk more about Tony. We got to talk more about D May, but first you got to do a giveaway.
Another one?
Another one.
We're doing so many giveaways, guys.
Hell yeah.
You know what? I don't know why there's not more people watching us these days. We give away so much. I mean, Spectrum's down, so I guess that might be part of it. But we're back. We're working with our friends at Elite Sports Collectibles. We've been doing this for a long time now. We've been giving away a ton of stuff. You guys have been a part of this process. Some of you guys have even won some stuff. I think there's a few people that watched the live stream that actually won some stuff, so that's very cool for them. This week, we're announcing the winner of the autographed Kirk Gibson signed baseball. It is not the baseball, but it is a Kirk Gibson signed baseball. It's very cool, courtesy of Elite Sports Collectibles. Try saying that 10 times fast. And the winner of that, are we doing drum roll? No drum roll?
I'll give you a drum roll.
Perfect. Sabrina Stein at Perfectly Bree over on Instagram. We'll send you a DM on Instagram. You have won yourself a Kirk Gibson signed baseball. You can show it off to all your friends and family and be like, hey, look, I have this. It would baseball be here, but I don't have it, but it would be this.
I have a spot in here. I don't want to put it next to my Stripling ball. I got a Dieter Rule ball. We got a Corey Seager ball in here.
On that note, you have 48 hours to respond to that Instagram DM, or else it goes next to the Corey Seager ball, I guess.
No, we don't
get anything, guys. We suck. But this week, we're doing something cool this week. I mean, we're always doing something cool, but we're really doing something cool this week.
Yes, our friends at Elite Sports Collectibles has hooked it up once again, as they will be doing all or most season long. I guess that's a great way of saying it. And we are giving away this 2020 Dodgers World Series champion 12-inch replica trophy. Say that one 10 times fast. Yes, this is that one that I think nobody can get right now online. I believe it's the one from Foco. People are trying to get their paws on it. And you can't. Well, you can right here. It's pretty simple. All you got to do is just go on our Instagram, follow the rules on our Instagram, and you could be entered to win. We are going to announce the winner next Monday on March 1st. There will be baseball. There would have been a baseball game that had happened by then, possibly two of them. So, yeah, go follow us at Official Dodgers Nation. Make sure you follow our friends at Elite Sports Collectibles 1 on Instagram. You need to be following us to be eligible to win. Comment your friends' names, all that stuff. And again, the post on our Instagram will give you the info that you need to win that cool giveaway. And Salona says, looks like a nice piece of metal.
It's a beautiful piece of metal.
Hey, you guys remember that when Rob Freeman's a pile of crap?
You really got to stick around for the whole show.
And speaking of pile of crap, now speaking of sticking around for the whole show, I know a lot of people are here for this guy. You guys know him from our YouTube channel, DodgersNation.com. He's there every single day on your internet machine. He's also the host of your DN Dodgers Nation postgame show that's going to be coming back once the season gets going again. DMac_LA. What is going on, Douglas?
What's going on, my guys? Great to be back on the Blue Heaven podcast, man. It's been a minute.
I know. It's been like a year, dude.
Probably a year now, but it's great to be back, man. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is the best Dodgers podcast in the game. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Dodgers Nation employee trying to get a raise. I really do mean that, and I'm just thrilled to be back rocking with you guys.
Yeah, hey, the check's in the mail, brother.
Yeah, give him a raise right now.
Yeah, we'll give him two. Oh, the chat goes wild.
The chat all of a sudden, guys. All of a sudden.
By the way, I've been working
What
on
up, Dodgers Nation?
I've been working on figuring this out for a while. You guys that are watching on this stream side, to get somebody in live was kind of a huge pain in the ass, but we worked it out, and nobody better to have on than our boy Doug McKain. Again, hey, I just want your I mean, I know you guys, you've been talking all about the Dodgers on our YouTube all off season long, getting into the rumors, getting into things, putting real life perspective on all the John Heyman tweets and other crap that have happened all off season long, getting people to understand that don't believe everything you hear on the internet. I want to just get your take. Usually you have some narrative. You got to talk newsy things about it, whatever the hell it may be. I want to know, how do you feel about these Dodgers entering spring training here and entering the 2021 season?
Look, I feel like I say this every year, but I've never been this excited for a baseball season. I mean, coming off that World Series win, now that monkey's off our back. We ended that 32-year drought, and I just want more. I'm greedy. I want to make up for some of those lost World Series in years past, some of those heartbreaks, and I think this team is just so loaded. They're so stacked, and I cannot wait for this season. And the thing is, too, like sometimes when you have such a loaded team and you're the prohibitive favorite to go back and win the World Series, it almost seems like it's this foregone conclusion. But I think one of my favorite things about this Dodger team is there's so many underlying questions. There's so many questions about the rotation, about the bullpen. And I think it's just going to be a fun, exciting year with so many different storylines. And I just can't wait.
I think you hit it right on the head when you say it seems like it's every year, but every year that we go into a new season, it's always like, this is the most excited I've ever been to watch a Dodgers team. Felt that way in 2017, 18, 19, 20.
You thought it would have changed a little bit after winning the World Series, but no, if anything, I think we're all more hungry.
No, I think like most seasons you look at it, and I mean, it's tough to look at it from a non-biased standpoint, but obviously as Dodgers fans, but every single season you kind of look at it and you're like, this is a better team than last year. This team could be way better.
How do you win a World Series?
2021 is just like, you're looking at your 2021 team right now as it stands versus your 2020 World Series team that dominated. And you're seriously looking at that, and I think it's really hard to not look at that and be like, this team is way better, and that is wild to be able to say. Especially, I mean, in this climate, like in this economy of all things. So I'm very excited about that. There's a lot of good things.
I agree with you 100%, Brooke. It's like you thought that maybe winning a World Series, maybe like, okay, you won't have that same hunger, but I feel like it's tenfold now because now we have a chance to do something that's really special. First team then go back-to-back since the 2000 Yankees. But let's go crazy. Let's go 2001 Mariners, set an all-time record with the talent on this team. And to me, it's the thing about last year, too, is I just really feel like right when the season started, it felt like we were counting down the days for it to end. And I'm just ready for a really long 162-game season, All-Star break, just the full Monty with Mookie Betts and company. Now David Price is back. We signed Trevor Bauer. I think this is going to be one of the most memorable seasons of our lifetimes.
Yeah, I mean, the chat just came to life with it, where people were talking about. Anthony over on Periscope says that out of all the recent seasons, this is the season to watch, and that's coming off of the back of a World Series win, the first one in 32 years, like you just said. It's kind of wild that we can look at this team and be this excited about it, but I can't think of any time in recent history that a team just in general has looked this stacked. Not even just the Dodger teams, like a team just in general has looked this stacked. There's obviously been very famous teams going in with the murderer's row of their own.
Murderer's rotation. We got Doug Mac _LA.
Doug Mac.
That's crazy, man.
Hey, make sure you guys are follow him at DMac_LA on Twitter and Instagram. He throws some fire up there. But anyways, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I had to.
I already forgot what I was saying. But
Murderer's row.
Regardless, we're looking at this roster. We're looking at the starting rotation. I mean, hell, we're even looking at a bullpen that is arguably our weakest spot right now, and still excited about it. So I think that we're in a good spot. Doug, who stands out to you? I mean, if you're looking at, if we're going to talk starting pitching, obviously there's the obvious in there, but I mean, just in general, when you're looking at this team, what's one guy you're looking at that you're like, I cannot wait to watch this guy play in 2021?
I think I'm starting right with David Price, because David Price sits out the entire 2020 season, and we just don't. He's such an unknown. I think if David Price comes in and he's a contributor and he picks up where he left off in the first half of 2019, I think it could be one of the biggest stories for the entire season. Because to start 2019, he was on pace to post a career high strikeout percentage. He would look like a top 15, 20 pitcher, and then that wrist injury really derailed his season. So I think if he can get healthy, which I'm sure he is, and he can get back to being the David Price of old, I mean, it's going to be scary. I think that's one of the, you just don't really know what we're going to see with David Price, but I think that he's going to be one of those guys who by the end of the season, Dodger fans love him. They love the fact that he came in and did what he did in 2021. I think David Price is going to be one of the big storylines.
Yeah, you look at DP, man. I mean, you got to think at his age, taking that much time off is going to be huge. That's going to be clutch. When you haven't thrown a true, real competitive pitch since the end of 2019, you took, he threw enough. He threw, at least in spring training. He was starting to look pretty good in spring training 2020. He kept throwing in the offseason, according to Dave and himself. This past offseason, so far so good, according to Austin Barnes today with the media saying he loves the way he looks, loves the way the new guy, Corey Knebel, looks. We'll talk more about him. But, yeah, dude, DP, I think that kid can be a real difference maker. And one huge thing, as we all call him an old man, I call him a kid. We're the same age, which is effing weird. But a huge thing with him is that he doesn't need to do it all. He doesn't need to be a number 1, number 2, even number 3 guy. In his best days, he's going to be a number 4 guy. He doesn't need to go out and get you 200 innings, and that is going to be a massive, I think, weight off his shoulders, knowing that if he needs a day, if he needs another day between starts, or if he needs a blow on the IL, whatever it is, he knows he can do it. And then boom, you plug in Gonsolin, you plug in D-May, hell, you start the clock on JoJo Gray. Man, this is a stacked rotation, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I'm just kind of looking back, 2019, that he wasn't giving up very many home runs. That strikeout rate was up. That walk rate was low. And it just, that wrist injury was serious. I mean, they were talking about him not even be able to feel a baseball at one point during that season. And then to think that, look, he was a part of the reasons why we got Mookie Betts, and so he can already do no wrong. But I think that David Price is going to really turn heads this year. I think that having a whole season off, one, like you mentioned, he gets healthy, but he also has that motivation of seeing his team win a World Series. And he wants to be a part of that. He wants that same feeling, and he wants to win a World Series in Dodger blue. I also think I think that this is going to be the big year for Julio Urias. I mean, we saw what he did in the postseason. He was absolutely lights out in October. You saw he pretty much is a part of Dodger lore forever. 1.17 ERA. He had a 0 ERA out of the bullpen. He was fantastic. But I think that Julio Urias, this is the year that he really establishes himself as one of the best starters in all of Major League Baseball. I'm talking top 15, 20 guy. And I think that, you don't really talk about what he did in the regular season last year. But in the regular season, he was a real workhorse for this rotation. There was that first inning where he got into a lot of trouble, gave up 10 runs in the first inning of his 10 starts. Then after that, 10 runs combined in the other 45 innings. So I think he's going to be a different pitcher with the confidence of what he accomplished in the World Series. Also, just kind of going to that curveball, not throwing that two-seamer as much. I don't know. I'm really excited about Julio Urias. I mean, the Urias had Uri ice in his veins in the postseason. I think he builds off that this season. And I'm telling you, I got my bold prediction. I got Julio Urias as an MLB All-Star this season. I'm telling you, this is the year for Urias. I don't want to hear any talk about him moving to the bullpen from anyone. Yes, what he was able to do was phenomenal. But I'm telling you, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on Julio Urias. I don't know why. I think it's because he gave me that joy, that indelible image of getting those final three, those final outs. He retired the last 7 batters in Game 6. But I think we don't really talk enough about how well he pitched in Game 4 of that series. He had 9 strikeouts. He gave up a home run to Arozarena, but then again, who all did it? I'm pretty sure all of us even gave up a home run to Randy in that series. So, yeah, I really think that, Bauer comes in. There's all this hype about Trevor Bauer, and I think he's going to pitch very well for the Dodgers. But I think that some of these other guys are going to end up emerging as really taking some of the storylines, like Julio and David Price.
Hey, you look at, as you call him, Urias, man. Those everlasting, those long-lasting, those memories, those visions you see of Julio, those are of him closing out games. Those are of him as the closer in your bullpen. That also says a lot. The Dodgers do not win that World Series without Julio in the bullpen. Sure, he can start all year long, but if the Dodgers want to win in the postseason, there's something about having the flexibility of a guy like that coming out of the bullpen, throwing gas for, I don't know, upwards of 3 innings, throwing gas for 40 pitches instead of waiting for him to maybe start the 4th game or something like that. As it lines up right now, he's your number 5 guy. He's not even in your postseason rotation in traditional seasons. It's crazy, man. The stacked team does not. Mike Saldana says it right here. Damn, we stacked. And accurate. That is a professional scout right there.
It's a fair assessment. Yeah, that's about how I grade things and how I'm looking at things. Doug, I mean, there's so many things to love about this team. Like I said, the biggest question coming into this is the bullpen. And with that, we inevitably get to the conversation of this is Kenley Jansen's last year, and I personally don't think that there's a deal in the works or anything like that. I don't think that he's coming back to LA after this. I think he's going to get the hell out of here while he can. What are you looking at with the closer situation? Is there a short leash on Kenley? I mean, is this the first year where Dave is like, you know what? If he screws up out of the gate, we're going to move away from the traditional closer role? Because it seems like he's more and more willing to embrace that, as is reflected in the last game of the World Series, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of last season, you think of Blake Trian's big save in Game 5. You think of Julio Urias doing what he did coming out of the bullpen all postseason long. You think of everyone wanting him to pass the torch to Brusdar Graterol. And when it comes to Kenley Jansen, he definitely had his moments last season. But, I mean, the point remains he's just not missing bats with that cutter like he was in his prime. You saw Joe Davis had that tweet a couple weeks ago about how he induces soft contact. But I think when it comes to Kenley Jansen this season, I really think that we all know that Dave Roberts, the ultimate players coach, he's loyal to a fault. I think he'll give him the ball to start the season, but I don't think you'll see him going on very many back-to-backs. I think that really I want to see them kind of playing the matchups when it comes to the bullpen this season. And I think they're gonna. If you're asking me if I think Kenley Jansen will finish with the most saves this year out of the Dodgers bullpen, for me the answer would be no. I don't think it's gonna be. I think it's either they're gonna try to. Look, Brusdar Graterol, he doesn't miss bats like you want for a closer, like I think you've mentioned shows in the past. But that strikeout rate did go up a little bit in the postseason. I definitely want to see him get a shot at it. I mean, who doesn't want to see the bazooka do it? I want to see. I mean, we'll see what Corey Knebel looks like. I mean, Corey Knebel in his prime was an absolute beast. 2017, 2018, guy like a 41% strikeout percentage. That guy was ridiculous. And but I definitely know they'll mix it up. I just don't think it's nothing against Kenley Jansen. Like I've said on the postgame show, it's all timing. If this was 2013, 2014 Kenley Jansen aligned with this same roster of position players and rotation, that he would have looked like a legend that came through in the postseason. But unfortunately, I just don't think that in a full 162 game season with that velo dip, I think it went down like 1.9 miles per hour, something like that. And yeah, he just hasn't developed that slider enough for me to be my everyday closer for a championship team. So really, you know, my wild card closer, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I really think that Tony Gonsolin can make a great closer.
Let's go.
I really do.
We've been saying that for like 2 years here, man.
You know, I probably subconsciously.
Yeah, you got it from us, man. I know.
For that one.
I know Tony Smoke struggled out of the bullpen last year, but he told us this offseason, like, I need to know my role. It messed me up. He told a few people this offseason not knowing his role was a big problem for him. So if he goes in saying, they tell him, look, you're going to be in the bullpen. You're probably going to start long relief, but we're going to try to get you as a late inning leverage guy. I'm sure it'll play, and you know, that's something Brooke and I have been pretty staunchly for, seeing him in the bullpen, seeing that nasty splitty just can some people, because he has that strikeout thing. And going back to the weak contact, you're talking about the soft contact with Kenley and the different kind of not strikeout stuff you get with Bruzdar. And by the way, how's it been so long since we've talked about Bruzdar? It feels almost sacrilegious for us.
That's just how you know that we have such a good team, where you don't even talk about Bruzdar on a daily basis. He deserves to be the star of the show every single day, and we don't even get to talk about him every week.
Two important distinctions, or one important distinction anyways. They both induce contact. They're not strikeout guys anymore. That being Kenley not a strikeout guy anymore, and Bruzdar is not a strikeout guy yet. The difference is Bruzdar gets ground balls, and Kenley gives up those bloopers that fall in, in front of the outfielders, and then there's game 4 that happens. Brett Phillips is all of a sudden a hero, and hey, props to him, man. He's going to ride that for the rest of his career. But
still doing that airplane thing on the outfield somewhere.
That's a big thing, man. Anyways, I don't know. I know we've taken over. I'm gonna let Brooke say words.
No, I don't really have any words for it, but I mean, and there's a lot of ways to look at it. Obviously, you talked about it a little bit, Doug. I know we saw Joe Davis tweet out that thing, and it was meant to be more of an inspirational type of thing instead of what it turned into. Is like, yeah, he induces a lot of soft contact, but he misses all of his spots, and that's something that's been consistent since after the 2017 World Series. You can induce all the soft contact you want. If you're missing your spots, then you're not going to align with your infielders. You're not going to align with your outfielders. I think there's been several times where you and I have looked at the shift in terms of defensively how they're aligned and where he ends up throwing the ball, and it's like, well, of course they got it through. There's nobody on that side of the infield. You have to know that you can't throw away from him on a cutter when your defense is lined up to pull, and all these. It seems like nothing's ever matching up in terms of what they are asking out of Kenley versus what they're getting out of him.
Yeah, the analytics hurt him, I think,
big time. And
I think you hit on pretty much the best point when it comes to Kenley Jansen, is that just missing his spots in key situations. Like I used to say last season, during certain games, if you were on a dunk tank and Kenley Jansen was trying to hit you, you'd be really dry right now. And I think that unfortunately is something that persists with him, and just some. And there's a confidence thing with him. But I do think, like your guest last week, Jeff Snyder said, I thought that was a great point he made about coronavirus and being
that's a good point.
The after effects as him specifically. And I think him being healthy, him being in his last year as a Dodger. Look, don't get me wrong, this guy's 312 saves. He's a Dodger legend. There's no question about it. At his peak, the guy was virtually unhittable. At some point during 2017 postseason, we know what happened. But Kenley Jansen, it's not like Kenley slander. I'm just trying to keep it real with him. And when going back to Tony Gonsolin too, and I just really think that, like in the postseason, like you mentioned, he needs a role. He went 16 days without an appearance in the postseason. And then the October, he gave up 4 home runs in 9 1/3 innings. He gave, the walk rates were up. He had, I think, 7 walks in the regular season and like 9 in the postseason, something crazy like that. So the walks were up, the home runs were up. But like you said, like that pitch is so unique, that split change. And when you have a great pitch like that coming out of the bullpen, he can hit 96 on the gun. I mean, I just want to see him coming out of that bullpen. I mean, I think instead of Metallica's Enter Sandman, it could be like Enter Catman or something like that. I tell you, there's something about him, Tony Gonsolin, is just like, he's got that closer's mentality. And I don't know. I just really and it's like, you obviously a starter, how Andrew Friedman, he values starters, and he that is where the money's at. But I'm agreeing with you guys. I really do think it would just be something where you can master that role. And I think that, he would take LA by storm as the closer. But, hey, I would love to be proven wrong, and he's an elite pitcher that gives you 6 strong, 25, 30 times a year. So I'm just a big fan of the dude.
Hey, Brooke sees me, man. I'm not letting this one go. And I know if my old lady's watching, she's already on the same track. So Google it, kids, or you put it on YouTube. Look up Meowtalica. There's
Meowtalica.
Yeah, meow, 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 meow.
That's what I'm talking about.
Dude, fire right there. Move over, Eric Gagne. You have your new greatest closer intro music of all time.
Like,
Meowtalica.
I don't even like
I'm
cats
ending
that
the
much,
podcast with Meowtalica.
There you go. Yeah. I don't even like cats that much, but I'm all aboard on that idea. I'm all in on it.
Hey, I got one more question before we let you go, brother. But hey, we know, everybody knows who's been keeping up with you all off season. You're humping, man. You're reworking. I know you probably got another video coming out tonight or early in the morning or something like that. But our friends over at Let's Be Frank podcast, they bring up Dustin May breakout season. Still has a lot to prove after championship. D May came out today. Media talk to D May. Of course, Dustin May is a huge, is greatly impacted by the Trevor Bauer signing. It's one less spot for him in the rotation. I just want to get your quick thoughts on Dustin Mania, your boy. What do you think happens with D May in 2021?
That's another guy. I mean, I heard you guys talking either last show or the show before that about him needing to get that strikeout rate up. That two-seamer is filthy. It's one of the best pitches in the game from a velo standpoint, from a movement standpoint. But I think with Dustin May also was the home runs. He was second on the team with most home runs allowed last year with 9 bombs. And he averaged five innings to start last season. He only gave up more than 2 runs in 1 start in the regular season. So I think if you're Dustin May, he's still just 23 years old. He's a guy that they're heavily invested in. I think that they're going to do what they can to make sure that he is a starting pitcher, because I think he's a guy that is a future top 3 pitcher in a above average rotation. I think that he's a guy who has the potential to be a 1 or 2 guy in a World Series contending team. So remember we went to his first start with Dodgers Nation.
Yes,
we saw
sir.
we
saw the show flow, man.
I feel like you have a special connection when you go to a guy's first start, right. So you got to ride or die with him. But look, I'm still a really big fan of Dustin May. He actually increased that strikeout percentage by I think like 6 or 7 percentage points in the postseason. So him, a lot like Gonsolin, kind of had some rough outings in the postseason, but you saw later in the series against the Rays, he actually did have some nice appearances.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I'm still very high on. I really want to see Dustin May continue to develop, and I just think that he has a true gift. And so does Gonsolin with some of these unique pitchers. That's why I just, like I've been saying, it's an embarrassment of pitches with this rotation, because you have so many guys that have all these unique pitches up and down this rotation. But I don't know. I'm big on Dustin May. I think he's a guy that at this point in his career, I think he'll accept any role you give him. I think he'd be open to the idea of going in the bullpen and having the same role as a Tony Gonsolin might. But I think he's a guy that you really want to just continue to develop as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, man. I nailed it. Nailed all of it, man. That's it.
That's a good way to wrap it up.
Doug, man, we appreciate you hanging out with us, man. This is always fun. Now that we figured this out, we don't got to wait for COVID to go away to get you back in the office. We can do this a little bit more. The chat loved it. Everybody loves seeing DMac_LA in the chat. Or on
thanks, man.
on the stream
honestly,
here.
It's my favorite podcast. Always been my favorite podcast. Like
it's true.
I usually go to.
He was big on us before he even came on.
Listen about baseball or laugh, and this is like basically like a combination of both. You know what I'm saying? So
appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
It's always great to be on with you guys, and yeah, man. Go to the YouTube channel over at youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. Hit that subscribe button. All that stuff.
That notification button. Drop all your takes in the comments below.
But yeah, thanks again, guys, man. Talk to you guys soon.
And everybody, make sure you keep an eye out for the post-game show. It's going to be happening. We don't know when. We'll announce when the official first one. You got to do a few in spring training. We know you're gonna bust out the old. Well, you already got the Britney mic on, so you're gonna have to dust off the live stream stuff. And there's no start stop in the live stream, playa.
Yeah, man.
All right, take it easy, dude.
Stream deck rocking.
That is at DMac_LA. Thank you for hanging out with us. We got Ali. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name there, but somebody gave us $2 on the super chat for .com, which is great. The last bit of the show here before we do head out, guys. A few quick hits. I mean, things have happened around the spring training, as the kids say. Why don't you take us through it, man?
Yeah, we got a couple things to hit on. There's like a lot of little things that happen, a lot of decent things that happen, but we didn't know how to hit them today, so we kind of just wanted to throw them out there, see what you guys want to maybe sit on for a second, but we'll just talk about them in the meantime. First thing is that Clayton Kershaw reveals that he does not want to retire necessarily after the 2021 season, which I think is music to the ears of all Dodgers fans everywhere of all time. But he also didn't necessarily say that he wanted to play with the Dodgers for the rest of his career. He also said that he wanted to reevaluate it after every season. So it didn't exactly instill confidence, but at the same time, it was also like, well, at least he doesn't want to retire after this season, right?
Well, as he said, I'm only 32.
He is only 32.
He's got some bullets left in the tank. We'll learn a lot about what the hell what his future is going to look like after this season. I think a full season, if he can stay healthy, that's going to tell him a lot. I can't see him pitching anywhere else. As much as he wants to be home, right, or closer to home to be with his kids, he's still going to have to be at the ballpark. You're not going to spend every waking minute with your kids.
I think we also forget, and this is a maybe not important side of it, but he's very much a creature of habit. He doesn't like breaking from routine. He doesn't, especially in terms of his starts and how he approaches baseball just in general. He really is upset when you break his routine. And I think people have said that in the past, like, do not mess with any of his routine. Like, don't throw any wrenches in there that are not a part of his normal routine. He's going to get pissed off. So I think with that's like, oh, okay, well, he wants to be a Dodger then. Like, he's just going to retire a Dodger. There's obviously up in the air. There's a lot of question marks in it. I think we'll find out more in the coming months.
Yeah.
But I don't like it.
I would imagine somebody like that. I mean, Clayton Kershaw knows the legacy. He knows the lore. He knows the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers and the history of the Brooklyn Dodgers. He's one of the guys who came up at the right time when there was still a Tommy motoring around the ballpark. Maury Wills was there. Don Newcomb, all these guys that were telling him things. And Koufax, knowing that he played his entire career, how much he looks up to Sandy, and knowing that Sandy played his entire career with the Dodgers, that's going to be something. Having somebody like Bulldog around, and Bulldog has told him, or has openly said, it's like, it broke my heart when I left the Dodgers. I didn't want to leave there, but they didn't want me. We're going to want the Dodgers. Hershiser was broken when he signed elsewhere, when he signed with Cleveland. Kershaw's not exactly unbroken, but
he's got good innings left in him. Sure.
I can see Clayton Kershaw being the type of dude. Tony Crenshaw being the type of dude to go around, listen to these vets, listen to these guys, at what it means to be a Dodger for his entire career. So that's just my take on it. I think I can't see him going anywhere.
Alternatively, I also don't believe that he will be the guy that tries to push his career too far. I think once he feels it falling apart, or once he feels the wheels coming
36
off,
max.
He's going to be like, that's good enough for me. I don't need to sit around longer than I need to be here and embarrass myself and be that awkward old veteran that people want to succeed but just doesn't. So I think he's going to go out on top wherever he ends up. I think he's going to ultimately stay with the Dodgers. Alternatively, we go back to another guy that's broken. Kenley Jansen changed up his offseason routine, or approach, I guess you can call it. Pitching coach Mark Pryor confirmed that the change went from bulking, which I'm assuming is weightlifting, to more of body movement focus. So I don't know if that means that Kenley Jansen's doing yoga or Pilates. I can't confirm or deny that necessarily, but it is more focused on his body movement and longevity and strengthening that aspect of it. Don't know if that helps, but Doc also said right from the get, immediately, Kenley's our closer. Like day one press conference, Kenley is our closer, because obviously that's the question that everybody wants to know coming in. Is this another one of those things where it's like he changed your offseason approach and nothing changes, just like in years past? I mean, what was the last year? Driveline?
Driveline was last year.
The year before that, diet, right? Wasn't it like
well, yeah,
go on, don't eat ice cream?
Pretty much, yeah. I think he tried to do the what are they called? Jazzercise?
Jazzercise.
He tried to do jazzercise. Hell, why not?
Kenley does Zumba, and now he won't come on our show.
Well, we've never asked.
Yeah, I won't ask.
Usually when we ask them, like, very few times have we not got a Dodger that we've asked to come on the show.
We won't ask him because
we don't like
I'm kind of afraid of him.
These guys are here to work, man. Like, I would not want people to call me and be like, hey, I want to
How's your Zumba
talk
class
to you
going?
about your job. That's your jazzercise. Oh, man. Are you good on Kenley?
I'm good on Kenley. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
So I probably should have plugged in the graphic, but this one was pretty cool. I'm going to try to remember to keep calling him the Julio Urias. But Julio's dad got Pops got a World Series tattoo of his son hoisting that trophy, right? Is that what it is?
Is the celebration where he's doing the step forward with the hands pumped and then the trophies a piece of medals in the background, Mm-hmm. So he got that. It's nice and big. You can go over to DodgersNation.com and check it out. It's on an article there, provided by AM570. Thank you for that, guys. You can go check it out. I don't have any Dodgers tattoos, but if you have any Dodgers tattoos, especially if you got one celebrating the World Series victory, I would very much like to see them. So go tag me on Twitter or Instagram or something. I just want to see them.
I think we have that question up on our Twitter as well, on Dodgers Nation on Twitter, at Dodgers Nation. Check it out. That is surprising because you are a guy that's an ink boy.
I have many tattoos. I feel odd about working in sports
branding.
And then branding myself as a Dodger fan. I feel weird about that, so I don't do that. I think if I ever don't work in sports in general, I will certainly get a giant Dodger Stadium tattoo on me somewhere or something.
All right, you're
Sandy
fired.
Koufax, right?
You're fired. Is this going to say Sandy Koufax?
Just says not in any particular font, just in Calibri, just like Sandy Koufax.
That's beautiful.
Thank you very much on that one. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Trevor Bauer's getting in fights on Twitter. We're not going to hit that too much. I think you guys need to go look on Twitter if you need to understand what's happening in the world of the Dodgers Twitter soap opera.
That's what it's going to be. That's his thing. I mean, TB speaks his mind. He responds. I know in his head he does it his best to be polite about it, but in this era, everybody's going to read into everything their way. If you choose to read it the worst possible way, that's on you. If you choose to completely absolve him of any guilt, that's on you, or of any wrongdoing in it, that's on you. There's arguments for both sides, and there's somewhere in the middle. And I want him. I want to see him fight the Padres people. I want to see him fight that Padres kid.
If he's gonna fight, if there's gonna be somebody on our team to fight online and we can't avoid it, which sucks, but it's gonna happen. If that's the case, please go fight Padres Twitter for me because I just don't want to handle it anymore. I have taken on the burden of that.
You have,
and I don't make $40 million a year.
He does not.
With that, Mr. TB, please go do that so I no longer have to fight with Chris Paddock's brother and his agent. His mom, whoever's in my messages all the time.
Is Chris Paddock still in the league?
No, I think they DFA'd him. Anyways, moving on here because we're getting near our cutoff time. Dodgers fans in attendance by opening day? Is that possible? Is it happening? Stan Kasten says he thinks it's possible. He thinks it could happen.
Trying.
He's hopeful for it.
They're talking about it. People are talking.
Apparently tickets are being sold on the resale market for like $8,000.
What the hell, man?
Look, dude, people haven't been to Dodger Stadium in over 500 days. It's been a long time since anybody's got to watch an actual game there, so people want to go. People need to get their fix. I missed it. I wouldn't sure as hell wouldn't pay $8,000 to go there and spend $4,000 more on beers because that you see that's the plan. That's how I would spend money. So if you plan on somehow being there on opening day, kudos to you. Hopefully you're safe. I don't know if it's going to happen. Another thing we talked about already, Keibert Ruiz still has not arrived at spring training because his visa still has issues, and there is no update on that. Doc doesn't even know when he's going to be here or even if there's a timeline for him right now. Does he have a future anywhere on the big league team in the next couple of weeks, just in general?
I don't know. Yeah, if they need somebody, do they go to him or do they go to FedEx, who's back, by the way? Tim Fedorovich. Yeah, that's right. The same guy who was traded for Matthew Ryan Kemp. Or with Matthew Ryan Kemp.
Like for him?
Yeah. It's later.
Arguably. Moving on a little bit more to the payroll side of things. Andrew Friedman said he's not cutting the payroll. He didn't say it. He kind of said it. He said, I expect it to be the same at the end of the season. If there's going to be a time to splurge, it's now. Things along those lines. So you can expect the Dodgers to have a $254+ million payroll in 2021, which I have heard is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It's going to cost them some money and 10 spots in the draft. We talked about that a little bit last week. As they say in the biz, it's not my money. Speaking of a lot of money, final thing I wanted to get out of you, and we can talk about it real quick here, guys. Fernando Tatis of the San Diego Padres, 14-year, $40 million deal?
A lot, yeah.
That is a lot of...
if anybody here makes $340 million, please jump into the chat and super chat. some of that.
I saw somebody said I'd pay, but I haven't got my stimulus yet. So we appreciate the thought on the super chat, guys. Good or bad for baseball and for Tatis?
Oh,
14-year deal.
It's good for baseball. I will say that. Anytime that a team is willing to commit to a player long term and spend a bunch of money like that, I think it's good for baseball. I think players need to be paid accordingly, and I think that owners need to stop making so much damn money all the time. With that being said, I don't know necessarily that is a great deal for him. I think if you're looking at the longevity of his career, if you were able to play at the same level that he's been playing at, I think that it will be a huge discount that they would get him at. But in terms of if he can keep doing it or not, obviously that's all up in the air. I think if I'm him, I'm taking that money because it's guaranteed. It's right in front of you. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know if tomorrow is even promised. Let alone in baseball when injuries happen and career-ending injuries happen often. So, I mean, if you're him, I would take it. I hope that he's able to look back on his career and be like, I'm glad I took that money. I'm glad I took that contract. I hope he doesn't have any.
Is it a smart deal for San Diego considering he's played less than 150 games in his career?
It is wild to me that the Padres are like, we're just going to give you all this money because you've been he's electric. I mean, he you saw in his introductory for his contract press conference. I think it was today, right?
Yes.
Was that today? I mean, the kid is good for baseball, man. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He's very talented in most aspects of his life. He just can't hit against the Dodgers, and that's okay. Like, I don't blame him for that. But he offers a lot to baseball. I think the argument has come up like, is he the face of baseball? And I think the face of baseball is whoever you want it to be. It's up to you. I don't really care. I don't think Mark Trout. I don't think Mike Trout is a marketable guy, so I understand why people don't view him as such. But
Mike Trout shows up to work on time and leaves right at 5:00.
Exactly, punch in, punch out. But he does a very good job at what he does. I think that it is wild to me that they've committed I say close to $1 billion. It's not technically close to $1 billion. It's like a Mike Trout contract away from $1 billion. But it is a lot of money to the left side of the diamond. Like 2 positions between Machado and Tatis. That's a ton of cash.
I would like some of that. Does he finish that contract in San Diego?
No, I don't believe he does.
All right. Good call.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. I hope y'all had some fun. This beat is sick. Take a ride on my. Anyways, follow us at places. Make sure you follow Doug. We love Doug at DMac_LA. He'll be all around your Dodgers Nation stuff all year long because I force him to. This is how it goes. So find him on DodgersNation.com. Subscribe to Blue Heaven. We are on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, all the spots that podcasts exist for free. We live there, so do that. Doug also has a podcast that we need to get better at uploading more regularly. It's at Dodgers Dugout with DOUGOUT. Props to Gary for coming up with that name. We had tacos. Gary came up with it. He was very happy. And once again, make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. We appreciate all of your subs.
All of them, every single one of them
belong to me.
All of your subs belongs to us, guys. I am at Brook83. This guy over here is at RealFRG. We're both on Twitter and Instagram. Once again, hit us up. We want to see those Dodgers tattoos if you have them. We're at Dodger Nation on Twitter, at Official Dodgers Nation on Instagram. Make sure you go check out our giveaway with Elite Sports Collectibles. Go win that perfect, wonderful 12-inch Foco World Series replica trophy as seen here on television or podcast TV, whatever you want to call it. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you guys for your comments. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for your support all the time. Thank you for welcoming Doug into the show because Doug is very nervous. He's such a superstar talent that he doesn't usually do lowly podcasts like this, but he was on. So thank you to Doug. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.